All right, welcome back to another tutorial in Maya. Welcome all new subscribers. Thank you very much for coming to me in the past couple of months. I know I've been taking a little time off and doing some special projects, a little of this, a little vacation time, blah, blah. Anyway, so I've taken some time off, but now it's time to get back to work because school is here and it's time to start learning some more stuff about Maya. Okay, so anyway, pardon my absence. I apologize for that, and I'm going to show you some stuff that I've been working on, and we're going to take a look today in this tutorial about the substance node. And you're going to find the substance node in the Hypershade, and this is pretty much for Maya 2012, 2013. So if you're on 2011 or before, sorry, you might not find this. So anyway, what we're going to be looking at is the 2D texture node called the substance, which is right here. And this basically creates a network of a substance network, or a texturing network for a various substance. So that's what we're going to take a look at. And as you can see here, these are some samples of these substances that are included. I just sort of have some basic ones going here. Here's the copper, here's a painted planks, this one's the aluminum. I believe this is the brushed aluminum. Here's a brick wall, here's a cement wall, here's some wood, here's a tile, like a checkered tile floor, blah, blah. And this one is sort of a marble, or a broken marble. So, and this is aircraft aluminum right here. So anyway, I just sort of assembled a bunch of these, shaders or these textures into a scene and lit it with basically a point light and a spotlight. No big deal. Just sort of at default values, just to get an idea of what's going on here. But this is cool because the substance node produces, say, a texturing network that you can easily attach to. These are just planes. And it's pretty cool. You have a lot of variants that you can do with, like, say, the brick wall here. You can sort of add more mortar in here, less mortar. And we're going to take a look at all the various parameters of tweaking these substances once we have them attached. So that's pretty cool. And by default, this substance node sort of starts with a Phong E type shader, which has reflectivity in it. So you can see that right here. There's a bit of reflectivity going on. But you always want to keep aware of that because, some stuff needs to be reflective and some stuff is not reflective at all. So just remember your reflectivity in the Phong. But we'll take a look at that in a minute here. So this substance node was created by Allegorithmics. And if you go to their website, you can find all sorts of cool stuff. They have some products here that are really cool. They got the B2M. It's a bitmap 2 material maker. So essentially you can start out with a texture, just a picture texture, and it creates all the maps: diffuse, specular, normal, ambient occlusion, blah, blah. And you get a nice looking texture. Okay? And they call them smart textures. And they are kind of smart because it's one file format that sort of condenses all of these maps into one textured network. So you can really have a lot of variance, and you can actually change your textures, and everything updates accordingly to that texture system. And that means if you make a change on your color or your bump or something, it'll automatically update all of the other maps and everything will be looking good. So right now they're on a Substance Designer 2.5. Number 3 Designer is coming out, and I haven't used these yet, so I can't really tell you much about them other than they look pretty cool. So anyway, that's who's responsible for that. So go check out Allegorithmics website for more info on their products. And let's see here. I want to show you what I've been working on. Basically, I have been working on the official Deepfriedectoplasm website. Okay, so I took some time off, and I'm making a mirror site for the YouTube training tutorials and stuff that I do. And on the website, I'm going to have some interesting stuff. We're going to have like the deep node, which is going to go into some deeper stuff on Maya and 3D and blah, blah. Maybe I have a gallery here where we're going to show some cool stuff. I'm going to create like an end store where maybe you can buy a hat or a t-shirt or something, with Deepfriedectoplasm on it. I don't know. Or just something, anything cool I can sell in the store. We'll set up a store, so maybe that'll help. A little donate section here because I'm all about free education, and I really do want, to have everything I do available to almost everyone out there. So, I might set up a little donate section. We'll talk about that more later. It just sort of will help me along the way. And I want to set up an archive of all the tutorials that I've done so that all you have to do to have a nice safe place to come and download all my stuff would be here in the archives. So I know that it's all over the internet, and that's cool, and you can download stuff directly from YouTube. That's cool. But I thought buttoning it up and putting it in one place would also be a good option. So there you go. And maybe a little bit about me and how to contact me, blah, blah. So that's the website I'm working on. It's not live yet. It's going to be a couple of months, but it's going to be really cool once I get it going. So stay tuned, okay? Now, let's look at the scene I have going here. But first, before we do that, make sure that you go check out Lester Banks every day, okay? Because he's got cool stuff for your brain, and always good tutorials on there for all sorts of different stuff. So check out Lester. Now, all of these textures in here basically have a network, and we're going to start from scratch and just sort of assign, use one of these planes. Like I'll use this wood plane right here, and we'll assign a texture and sort of, start with this. So let's sort of look at this from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and just sort of put a standard Lambert on there for the moment. And we're going to take a look at how to start building one of these networks. All right, and I think I'll go back to the beginning here and bring this up a little bit and bring that over. Okay, so we'll assign and do a substance network for this. Let's just at random, I'm going to bring over my hypershade over here. And I'm going to go ahead and clear my graph there. I'm going to go clear graph. And these are all the substances I made before that are sort of in the scene. So what we want to do is we want to choose a 2D texture that's going to be the substance. And you don't want to use this substance output. Don't click on this. This is not meant for anything right now. And it has more to do with other things. So just remember, don't use this. So we want to click on substance. And here's my substance node right here. Let's see if we can get a little closer on that, because we're going to watch this network as it gets built. Now, the first thing to be aware of when you click on this substance is that it wants to reference a file, okay? If you look over into your substance over here, it'll say that it wants a file right here. So just like anything else in the hypershade, we'll navigate to a folder where those substances are. And in this case, it's in my main hard drive under Applications, and it's under the Autodesk, and in Maya 2013, I'm going to click there, and it's in this Substances folder. So I'm going to double-click that Substances folder. Well, that opens up all of the included substances that Allegorithmic has provided. And in here you have some various choices, this, that. You can get some cardboard, bronze, brick wall 1, brick wall 3 or 5, whatever. Some concrete options. And so let's just at random sort of pick something that, we might want to work with. Let's say we just pick a concrete 07 right here. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. And there it is. There's our concrete, and it's existing as a substance. Well, that's cool. Now, in order to get this to work with Mental Ray, you want to come down here and make sure, before you do anything else, that your automatic baking is turned on. Okay? That'll sort of help bake this texture to, something that Mental Ray can understand. And that's about it. Also might want to take my absolute width. I'm going full tilt here, so we'll go to 2048. Okay, and we'll just do a large texture size there. And now we can basically create a shader network. And if you'll notice, I'm going to just go ahead and click this Create Shader Network and watch what happens over here. We're going to get kind of funky over here. It's going to do some stuff, and it's going to create a network. and it's going to disappear. Well, maybe not. Okay, well, it disappeared. That's not what I had in mind, but let's see if we can find it now. This is under substance 10. Okay, I'm not finding it. So sometimes you may have to look through here and find where that substance went. In this case, this concrete wall, this is number 9. This is number 10. That's baked, so this is it right here, number 13. Okay, so that's the latest one that I created. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on my graph input output. Because it disappeared down here from the hypershade, sometimes it'll do that. Sometimes it's kind of wonky. I've found there's a lot of variables here. So anyway, that's what happened there. So now we can look at this and see that it created a network. Here's our Phong main SG group. Here's the actual Phong substance. And then here are the files that it's sort of by default connected to. And you'll notice that the bump node right down here is coming from a normal map, okay? And, by default, it just does that. So here's your specular, and here is the diffuse. Okay, well, if I click on the diffuse right here, you'll notice that the substance comes up, and, here is the parameters and things that we already created, a diffuse, a specular, and a normal map. Well, instead of using a normal map, sometimes I like to use a regular bump map. So I'm going to click on this bump map, and automatically, it's basically telling you that there's already something connected to here, but it's going to go ahead and create a bump map anyway, but it's not going to connect it. So I'm going to hit OK, and let's look for that. Let's look for that bump. Here's the bump down here, and you can see where it's not connected to the overall Phong network. So if I want to, I can easily grab this right here, this little connection, and just delete that connection. And then I can grab my file, my actual, bump map file, and middle mouse button, click, drag, drop on top of there, and connect that to the bump map. Okay? So now that's connected to that Phong material. Okay, so now that we built the network, let's just plug it in and see what happens. So I'm going to click on my activate the plane and come down to existing material, and there it is all the way down at the bottom, my number 13. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that, and that pretty much is the same material I have going here. So I don't like that. Let's go for something completely different. Let's just get rid of this network really quick. What I can do is just select this and just reassign it a Lambert 1, and then just clear my graph down here. I'm going to just go to graph and clear that graph. And let's create a 2D substance. We'll do this again. And I'm going to bring this over here. We're going to come over, and I'm going to come in here and go to my folder where those are at, under Applications, inside the Autodesk folder, inside my 2013, and we're going to go to Substances. And this time I think we'll pick something, well, let's take rough ground here, right? That one right there. I'm going to hit OK. That's going to load up some ground. Now let's do this. Let's come back here, and we'll do this again. We're going to select our substance right here, and we're going to create a network. And in this case, let's do a diffuse. I'm just going to click on there. I'm going to click on specular. I'm going to click on normal map, and I'm going to click on bump map. I will get this right there, and I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to switch this up to 2048, and we'll make it a big texture. And it will take a little while to update because it's going through a lot of calculations here to set this network up and get everything working for us. So there we go. There's our network. Now we can go ahead and apply this to our plane. So I'm going to just go right mouse click, come down to assign existing material. And sequentially, because I was on material 13, I'm now on material 14. So I'll go ahead and add that. And in order to see this a little more clearly, let's bring this one down, and let's sort of concentrate on this for a second. Okay, so you can see that this is sort of a, a concrete pattern. It's been stamped, and we'll do a quick render on that. I'm going to try and stay away from doing renders here because in some cases I have a lot of materials going on in this scene, and they're all very high quality materials. They're sized out at 2048 or whatnot. So, you can imagine you're going to do a little bit of rendering here to really tweak this substance. All right. So there it is. It's coming through. And now what we're going to do is, as we tweak the parameters on here, we're going to look at sort of how to tweak these and get a little bit different look and maybe make it, a totally different type of texture. All right. So there it is. Let's come over here, and usually you want to just select it from this substance node over in the hypershade, and that should give us a I'm just going to do this. We'll put that on my other monitor. And here's our network. Here's our substance. And here's all of our parameters. So let's look at the roughness first. Let's take the roughness down. And we should be able to see this update in real time. It'll take a second or two. But we'll pull that roughness down a little bit. And there we go. And let's say streaks. We want to mess with the streaks a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just pump that up a little bit and see what happens. Most of the time you're going to wait a little bit of time before it updates here in the view. And there's that. So I don't know if I really like that. So we'll take the streaks down quite a bit. We'll go to the other extreme. And a lot of this is just testing these materials and sort of getting a grip on what these various parameters are going to do. So, yeah, we'll leave it like that for the moment. If you want to switch the color, usually I leave the normals and the emboss and angle the same, just depending on what you're doing. You can mess around with those to your heart's content, but let's shift the hue. I'm just going to select the center point right here for the hue, and you can see where it's going to totally give it a different color, basically. Okay, so now that switched it more to the blue end. If I want to add more saturation, I can just sort of add more saturation. Okay, so you get the idea. It's just about going through these substance parameters and getting a look that you might like. All right, luminosity means just that. It's the brightness of the material. I'm going to bring the luminosity down a bit. We'll see what happens there. Okay, so that's way too low. So we'll go back up. We'll go back up to 0.4. And a lot of times you may want to have your lighting already set up when you are messing with these materials, because your lighting is going to have a lot to do with how good these materials look. So, essentially be aware of that. Okay, so let's say I like that, and I'm gonna keep that. We'll go ahead and go to the next step. Now you'll notice that over here in the hypershade, the substance right here, this is the one we're working with, has a network already, and it hasn't been baked. And that's the next step, is baking this. Okay, so let's look at that. Once we have everything kind of the way we want it, we may want to select our substance and take a look over here. We created the shading network, yes, but now we want to export these images to disk. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And you want to create a new shading network, because this should be checked, because we're going to create something that's called a baked network. And that basically just bakes all of these textures to a file and puts the picture inside of a folder, and you can then use that in a game engine or something of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export. And it's going to go to my substance test right here. That's the folder we want to navigate to. However, in this case, I want to isolate these. So let's do this again, because you can do this as many times as you want. Right now they're going into that test folder, but I'm going to click on that folder, and I'm going to go to, say, my Maya Master projects. Nope. I'm going to click on this, go to the default, go to images, go to substance test tutorial, okay, because that's where I want these maps to be sent. So I'm going to go ahead and go choose. So there's my file path now, and I'm going to hit export. Okay. So now it's going to export these as JPEG images in 2048 by 2048. And it'll take a second. Now you can see where it hooked up that same network, where essentially there's two networks right here. There's our substance 14, this one right here, and then this one that's substance 14, but notice that it says material baked, okay, on that little text bar. So substance 14 is actually a baked material. So that's cool. We got our network. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this little dialog window. I'm going to select this plane, and I'm going to right mouse click, come down to existing material, and I'm going to look at my materials down here. I've got 14, and then I have the material that's baked. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit baked, and you can see where it automatically reversed itself. And I don't know why it does that. It might have something to do with, maybe freezing your transformations once you create a plane and put it into space. It may not just recognize that fact. So that's what happens sometimes. It'll reverse itself. So anyway, these are random procedural textures, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now we have that baked material on there. I'm going to go ahead and just do another render. And there it is. And it's going to take a little while. So I'm going to cancel out of this because we know that it's in there. We know it's baked on. We know everything's cool. But I want to show you something really interesting about, this network. Right now, this texture by default is using a normal map to establish the bump or, the textural detail. And let's see here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit escape. Hopefully we can escape this render. There we go. Okay, let's take a look at our hypershade real quick. Let's choose this substance 14 right here. I'm going to clear the graph. And I want to look at this substance 14. And I want to say graph. I want to look at the input-output connections. Okay, and here's where I was talking about the bump map. Here it is. It's basically a normal map right here. And let's say we don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and just sort of move this over here. We're going to take this bump off of here, and I'm going to hit delete. Okay? And I'm going to create a 2D texture file. And that file, I'm going to navigate to our folder where we sent all this stuff to, which is my Maya Master, projects, default, and images, and we were in the substance tutorial. Okay, so here it is. Here's our bump map. Here's our diffuse. Here's our normal, and here's our specular. Well, I want to basically use this bump map instead of this normal map. So I'm going to choose the bump map, and I'm going to go ahead and hit open. And just like we would normally attach a bump map to our network here, I'm going to go ahead and click that file of the bump, drag and drop middle mouse button on top of that Fong, and I'm going to connect it to the bump map. Okay, so now this normal map is still there if I want to use it, but the bump map is now basically in place of that normal map. So if I come over here, I can go ahead and do another render. And now I can kind of mess around with our bump depth. And I have no idea of what we're going to get here when we look at it. It might be a little bit better looking than the normal map. And I generally, I lean toward using bump maps more than normal maps in some cases. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, so I'm going to let this go ahead and play itself out here. And there you go. A pretty good looking procedural texture. You can assign that to any kind of object you want. You will have to mess around with it a little bit, but you know, essentially that looks pretty cool. Now, here's what I want to do. I'm going to take this bump depth because I already have this chosen. I'm going to like take it way down. I'm going to put it at like say 0.250, and I'll go ahead and save that render, and I guess we'll just do another render here. And we're going to probably see a lot less, you know, surface activity on there. So there you go. That's pretty much the ins and outs of using these substances. And you know, as far as the allegorithmic stuff goes, it gets a little more detailed, and some of their little programs there I think are pretty well worth what they do. So pretty good looking texture. All right, and that was just created in no time basically. So let's take a look. Let's sort of zoom out here, and there it is. Okay, so there you go. A little bit, just if you need to get some textures going in your scene and whatnot, that might be a solution for you. So great. Okay, well, that's it for this tutorial, and thanks for stopping by and taking a look. More good things to come in the future, and as always, read a book and always be a good person, please. All right, study hard and learn as much about Maya as you can, okay? So thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.